This is Bishop Dale Bronner. Thank you so much for joining our YouTube channel today. If this is a blessing to you, I want to encourage you to like it and then click the subscribe button and then turn on notification. Hit that little notification bell so that you never ever miss another one of our videos. And then if you're in the Metro Atlanta area on a Sunday, check out one of our exhilarating services at 8:30 a.m., 11 a.m., or 6 o'clock p.m. Well, our scriptural text today is coming from the Psalm 90, verse 12, the New Living Translation. Notice this single verse of scripture. Teach us to realize the brevity of life so that we may grow in wisdom. Teach us to realize the brevity of life so that we may grow in wisdom. And I'm speaking today from the subject simply the power of now. The power of now. Here the psalmist says, God, teach us to realize the brevity of life, how quickly life passes. And anybody who's been on the earth any period of time, if you've got a little gray hair or if you've got hair that has either turned gray or turned loose, then you have an understanding a little bit about the brevity of life, because you start wondering, where did the time go? And the thing about it, as we age, we understand the external aging of the physical body, but on the inside, your spirit doesn't feel like it has aged. And so he's asking us, teach us to realize the brevity of life, because we live life being unaware of how quickly it passes by if you don't live your life with intentionality in the now. I like the way that it says it in the contemporary English version in Psalm 90, verse 12. It says, teach us to use wisely all the time we have. Teach us to use wisely all the time we have. The foolishness of youth is to feel as though youth is indestructible. They feel invincible, that nothing will ever happen. They live as though they are going to live forever. I met an older gentleman in the gym one day, and I looked at how slow and calculated his movements were, because, when you get a certain age, you can't just make sudden moves. You'll throw something out of joint. I didn't understand it when I was a child, and I used to hear my grandmother say, I'm fixing to get up. I was saying in my mind, why don't you just get up? But they would say, I'm fixing to get up, because sudden moves can yank something out of place. You can pull a nerve, and throw yourself out. That's how you know that people have aged, because you'll see somebody bent over one day and they say, girl, what happened to you? It's like, I sneezed and pull a nerve. I got up too quickly, and I got dizzy, and I fell down and hurt myself. The injuries of youth are totally different. I fell off my bike. I fell off on my skateboard. They're doing some real active kinds of things, but you find somebody at a certain age, and it's like, what's wrong with you? And they just tell you, I slept wrong. And that's how you know that the body is aging. And so it says, teach us to be able to use wisely all the time we have. And you don't realize how rapidly time moves until it has moved. And so notice how it talks about, teach us to realize the brevity of life so that we may grow in wisdom, use wisely all the time we have. I want you to realize this. Wisdom is the skillful use of knowledge. It is the skillful use of experience. It is the skillful use of understanding. It is the skillful use of common sense. It is the skillful use of insight or revelation given to us by the Holy Spirit. Some things that I looked at, it talked about wisdom being the ability to use these things. I don't just say that it's the ability, because it's not wisdom to just have the ability, it's wisdom to use the ability. So that's why I say wisdom is the skillful use of your knowledge, of your skill, of your experience, of your understanding, of your common sense, of your insight, of your revelation. It is the skillful use of revelation that the Holy Spirit has given you. What good is it to know something and then you don't have sense enough to use it? Gail, I know I shouldn't be eating this. If you know it, do something about it now. Because the only time that you have the ability to change your life is right now. You don't have power to change your life tomorrow. You only have power to change it right now. It's what you do now in the moment of the 24-hour period that you're given, that is called today, that you have the ability to make changes in your world. And the devil can so delude us by dangling the carrot of tomorrow in front, that I'll do it later. And you already know that procrastination is a thief of time. You already know that. So when the whole world, the words of C.S. Lewis, he mentioned that when the whole world is running toward a cliff, that the one who runs in the opposite direction appears to have lost his mind. And just because everybody else is living like there is no tomorrow, the psalmist is saying, teach us, God, about the brevity of life so that we can apply our hearts to wisdom. Teach us to use wisely, God, all the time we have. Teach us to use wisely all the time we have. Maybe you've heard it stated this way: maximize the moment. Seize the moment. Because the moment is the only time that you can do things and change things. It's being able to seize the moment. May I remind you of this? Life is a collection of moments. Your life is so dull and boring and insipid and lacking growth when you do the same old thing all the time. When you live life fully, you experience the world. You experience it, and even if you don't experience it physically, experience it vicariously through reading and in getting the experiences of others. Broaden yourself, maximize the moment, seize the moment, using the power of now, so that you don't live in the land of regret of I coulda, woulda, shoulda. But you're seizing the moment of the power of now. The 24-hour period that we have right now is the only time that we can use to be able to make a difference. And we are going to have to give an account to God of how we used this thing that we call now. This day. You don't have to have a fancy plan in order to go hunting, only where you aim and aim and aim at a target but never pull the trigger. The power of now is being able to have enough wisdom to say, you know what? This opportunity is not going to last forever, because the opportunity of a lifetime is only available during the lifetime of the opportunity, which means that if you let this opportunity seize, you may never see it again. I have enough discipline that when divine thoughts come to me, I jot them down. If I don't have anything else, I write it down on my telephone. Sometimes I'll be on the treadmill, I'll be on a Stairmaster at the gym, and all of a sudden the Holy Ghost begins to talk on the inside of me. I'll pull the phone out right at that moment, because I know that divine thoughts are sometimes as ethereal as a puff of smoke. And if you don't record it, there have been some thoughts that God has spoken to me, and I'm like, oh God, that's so good. I'm going to remember that, and I'll say it 2 or 3 times. And come later, I can't remember. I was like, Lord, I know you, say that again to me. And I didn't seize that moment. And how many things have you lost because you didn't record it in the moment? May I remind you of this? We write, and you should write. You should put things in writing. Hear me carefully. We don't write enough. Writing makes an exact person. Put things in writing. You write for posterity. You write for accuracy, and you write for memorability. Did you get that? You write for posterity so that future generations can be able to benefit from your wisdom. Write for posterity. You write for accuracy. You tell people something and they mix up the words and I didn't say that. Write for accuracy. This is what I said. You write for accuracy and you write for memorability. You can't remember everything just verbal, and it starts getting twisted. You write for memorability. There's something about it. There are things that I want to remember, I write down. When I write it down, it brands it. It brands it on me. So it helps you to remember things better. Whatever you're trying to memorize, write it out. You write it out. I mean, you know, when we were in school, I don't know whether schools do this anymore, but if they had a discipline problem with you, they made you write something 100 times on a piece of paper. They wanted you to remember that, and I bet you if you didn't know anything else, you remember that I will not. You remember whatever it is that you had to write over and over and over because we write for memorability. Write for posterity. You write to be able to have clarity in whatever it is so that this thing is accurate, and then you write for memorability. Put it in writing. Seize the moment. Seize the moment because there are going to be thoughts and ideas, divine ideas, God thoughts. I ask God, you might wonder why the Lord speaks to the bishop so often. It's because every day of my life, I said, God, just give me one thought. Just give me a thought from you. Give me a thought. I want a divine thought from you. A divine thought, a divine thought. Just give me a divine thought. I ask God today for a divine thought, a divine thought. A divine thought. And a divine thought that came into my heart is that just for this day was that God is the God who extends mercy. You don't get mercy from a bankruptcy court. You don't get mercy from the jurisprudence system of our penal institutions. You're not going to get mercy from your mortgage company. Mercy comes from God. The people that you've wronged, that you've offended, rarely do they give mercy, but mercy comes from God. He's a God of mercy. If you need mercy, it's Lord have mercy. He is the God of mercy. God is the God of mercy. And here's the beautiful thing about mercy. Mercy gives you what you justly deserve. You deserve the disease. You deserve to be caught and be arrested. You deserved it. But mercy, it's something that only God really has the ability to give. And when you find people in the earth that do know how to give mercy, guess what? It's only because they have received mercy from Him. That's the only reason that you can give it is because you've received it. Blessed are the merciful. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. And if you'd never had somebody to have mercy on you, you wouldn't know how to do it for anybody else. God is the only one that can teach us mercy because He's the only one who is perfect and has the ability to be able to show what mercy can do for a life that has been wrong. That's God's grace for us. Use the power of now. Use the power of now to where you write things down. Your plan should be written. A goal is not a goal unless it's written. You can't just have these ideas in your mind. Write it down if it means something to you. If you believe that God will do it, put it in writing. Have enough boldness to put it in writing. Put it in writing. It crystallizes your thinking. Put it in writing. Strategy is a commodity. Execution is an art. Just think about that. Strategy, that's a commodity, but execution is an art. Most people aim at stuff. You know, man, I want so-and-so. I mean, I want one day I'm going to have a big old house, man. I'm going to have so many of these. I'm going to have all this. Strategy. But execution. Seizing the moment, using the power of now. The memento mori is Latin for simply remember you will die. Memento mori. Remember that you will die. Now, that wasn't to get people into feeling morbid about themselves, but it was the ancient practice of reflecting on our mortality, reminding us that you are not going to live forever down here on the earth in a natural physical body, that remember your mortality, that you're going to die. Why? So that you apply your heart to wisdom and use your time wisely right now. If you realize my time is ticking down, my time is ticking down. This is a question I want to ask you. That if you knew that you only had 6 months to live, what would you be doing now? And let me say this, do that. Don't wait for another 10 years down the road. Whatever that you would do, if you only had 6 months to live, if you just discovered that you had an incurable and inoperable cancer, and you had 6 months to live, what would you be doing and working on now? Do that to ensure that you don't leave that thing undone. If you had 6 months to live, do that now. Marcus Aurelius said that you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and think. Do, say, and think. Isn't that amazing? You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. And don't just think about what can happen in the next year or even in the next month. I want you to just focus on the 24 hours that's in front of you and what you can do to get closer to where you want to be within the next 24 hours, utilizing the power of now. Utilizing that power of now. Because today is just another opportunity for your making your dream a reality, of getting closer to God, of being able to build relationship, working on your vision. This is another opportunity for you to be able to walk further into your destiny. This was a personal reminder to us to just keep living a life of virtue now and not wait. But keep living a life of virtue now. You know why? Because God is a right now God. Dottie people said he's an on-time God. He's an on-time God. He's an on-time God. Because here's the truth. Today is the only time that you can use. Today. You can't use yesterday and you can't use tomorrow. Today is the only time you can use. Today. It is the only time that you can use right now. Now. And you know what now is. I've told you many times. Now. N-O-W. Needs over wants. I know what you want to do, but what do you need to be doing right now? Needs over wants. What do you need to be doing right now? The power of now. It's not until you determine something that you can do something. You can't do anything that you've not yet determined. And this is why this has been a scripture that I have recited every single day of my life since I was a teenager. Psalm 118, verse 24. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day. This day, this 24-hour period. This is the day. This is the day. Not next week. This is the day. This is the day. And let me remind you of this. You only have 3 currencies in life. There are only 3 currencies in life. Time. Number 1, time. Time is a currency of life. I'd encourage you to write this down. If you want to write it down, it's for your posterity, it's for your accuracy, and it's for your memorability. If you have to use it, don't write it on your phone, whatever. 3 currencies of life. 3 currencies of life. This is fresh. This is just in. They don't have the notes on this. I didn't have the notes. I didn't know it at the time. But there are 3 currencies of life. Time is number 1. Money is number 2. Knowledge is number 3. Time, money, knowledge. Now, whichever one you lack, use the other 2 to get. Are you listening? If you've got time and you need money, use your knowledge, you see, and your time in order to get the money. Now, if you need time, use your money and your knowledge to get time. You need to use money or your knowledge in order to get time. And that's why we have other folks cutting our grass nowadays. It's a time saver. So if you can pay somebody else, using your money gets you the time. You have three currencies of life. You're going to spend them. You have the currency of time. You have the currency of money. Money doesn't solve everything, because when you get old, you're not looking for another piece of money. You want time with the people that you love. As many bedsides of dying people that I have been beside over the years, I have never once heard anybody say, I wish I had spent more time working on my job. I wish I had put more time in at the office working even later. But what they said is, I wish I had spent more time with my wife. I wish I had spent more time with my husband. I wish I had spent more time with my children. I wish I had spent more time with my grandchildren. At the end of the day, you have to understand that relationships are a currency that require time. They require time. They require time. They require time. And isn't it amazing that oftentimes older folks, they've got money, but they don't have, they've got money, but they don't have much time left. Young folks got time, but they don't have money. Remember, these are currencies. And whichever one you lack, use the other two to get it. If you don't have any knowledge, you need time and money. That's why we go to school. That's why we go to apprenticeships. That's why we do internships. If you've got time and if you've got money, you can get knowledge. And sometimes if you got the money, you can buy somebody who's got the knowledge. But whichever one you lack, use the other two to get the one that you lack. Three currencies of life: time, money, knowledge. Use whichever one you lack to get the other. You can use that. And it helps us to be able to grow, to be able to maximize the time. You want to maximize and use the power of now. If you don't do it now, it may not get done. Can you imagine how many things that people intended to do? You may have heard the saying that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I meant to do so and so, and just didn't get around to it because they weren't intentional about the use of the power of now. And so I would say to you, life is so quickly. It moves by so quickly. Don't let a bad 5 minutes of your life ruin your whole day. And some people will let some sharp words or a nasty look that somebody gave you for 1 minute, you'll be thinking about that mess all day long, and it messes up your whole day because you walked in and somebody didn't even speak to you. You don't know what was on their mind. They might have looked at you, but their mind might have been on the other side of town. You don't know what they were dealing with. It's like, I know she saw me. She looked right in my face and she might have been so traumatized by something that happened and trying to work something out. She might be facing eviction. You don't know what people are dealing with. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Use the principle of charity with them. You don't know what they're dealing with, and you'll have a 5-minute encounter or sometimes less, and then let that ruin your entire day because of 5 little minutes. Life is too precious to give one of your 24-hour periods to some nincompoop who doesn't understand that they might have offended you, but don't carry the offense all day and ruin your day because somebody sowed some bitterness and nastiness and attitude and threw shade your way. Let the sun shine in. If there's shade, open the drapes. Open up the blinds, let it in. Open up your sunroof, let the light in and shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine now. Let it shine while you're thinking about the goodness of Jesus and all that he's done for me. You know, let your light shine. Let your light so shine. Let your light shine even while people are throwing shade. Let your light shine. Don't you let anybody else's shade put out your sunshine. And so, never let 5 minutes mess up your whole day. And don't let a bad day cause you to have a bad life. Don't let a bad day cause you to have a bad life. And let me say this to you. Don't let one bad decision ruin your destiny. Because your destiny can be torn to pieces by one bad decision. May I remind you of this? You manage your character one decision at a time. You manage your character one decision at a time. You manage your character one decision at a time. I love the Bible in Lamentations chapter 3, verse 22 and 23. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Old Testament folks knew that God's faithfulness was great. He was faithful in the Old Testament. He didn't just become faithful when Jesus came. God was faithful in the Old Testament. Great is your faithfulness, O God. Great is your faithfulness. Morning by morning, your mercies are made new every day. You ought to just be excited about getting up and discovering what new mercies God has granted to you. Because remember, mercy doesn't give you what you justly deserve. And so thank God for His mercy, because God shows mercy to us. And then Jesus taught us to pray this prayer. Matthew chapter 6, give us this day our daily bread. And not for next week, but the daily bread. Remember when the manna came from heaven? They could only eat it in whatever you couldn't consume in that day. It had to be thrown out because it would stink and worms would form in it. So he says, this is daily bread. Trust me, because tomorrow you're going to need something from me tomorrow. And I'm going to help you tomorrow. But the daily bread. And our God, He's the God who is the great I am. I like how he kept Himself in the now. He never identified Himself as the God who was and just the God who will be, but He is the great I am. When Moses said, Lord, who shall I tell them sent me? I am that I am. He didn't say, I will be who I will be. He didn't say, I was who I was. God said, I am that I am. He understood something about the power of right now. That I'm an on-time God. I am the living bread. I am the living water. I am the good shepherd. I am the light of the world. I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. I am the door. I am the vine. I am the resurrection and the life. I am. He reserves Himself in the power of the now, because that's where God demonstrates His power. You can't do anything about the past, and if you can do something about the past, you can only do something about it in the now. You can heal the now. That helps the hurt from the past to where it doesn't hurt anymore. But the scar that the past made will always be there. Even when Jesus was healed from the injury that happened to Him on the cross, He still bore the marks in His body. Because the past is the past, and whatever has marked you in your past is already done, but God can heal you. And He will leave a scar to let you know this is a testimony mark. To let you know that something tried to pin me, something tried to pierce me, something tried to get me to bleed out. But it was the Lord's way of saying, I'm with you, and I heal you through what should have killed you. And even when they tried to take you out, I left this as a scar on your life to let people know that, yes, you were there, that you were in a place hanging between the balance of life and death, and I'm the one who restored your life. I know that something happened in your life. I wanted that to be on purpose. But I just want you to realize that, as with Mary and Martha, the brother of Lazarus, when Jesus said to them that I am the resurrection and the life, He was letting them know that it's never too late when Jesus shows up. It's never too late when Jesus shows up. Just realize that when Jesus shows up, when He showed up, they had an attitude. They're like, had you been here, had you shown up, my brother wouldn't have died. They lacked understanding. It's never too late when Jesus shows up. Trust me that when Jesus shows up, he knows exactly what time it is. He knows what time it is. He knows what time it is, and I'm grateful for that. And I would say to you, in understanding and being able to take advantage of the power of now, don't confuse the urgent with the important. Those are two separate things. Urgency is to show how soon something matters. Urgency, it reveals how soon something matters. But importance is how much something matters. Importance. So how soon something matters and how important something matters are two different entities. President Eisenhower used to arrange his affairs so that there was a distinction for him between the important and then urgent matters that came across his desk. And he reportedly said that the two of those things seldomly go together, what is important and what's urgent. It's interesting. And maybe you need to learn how to separate the urgent from the important in your life. Because most urgencies are because people neglected to do what they needed to do when they should have done it, and now that urgency has become of ultimate importance to them, and they take their urgency and now want to make it your importance. It's different. But the principle is that successful people consistently do what mediocre people do occasionally. Successful people consistently do what others only do occasionally. It's amazing. But when you think about your mortality, the fact that you're not going to be here forever, it's not depressing. It's only depressing if you miss the point. The whole purpose of realizing that you're going to die one day is so that you use that as a tool to create two things: priority and meaning in your life. Priority and meaning. It helps you create priority. When you realize you will not live forever, it helps you to create priority and meaning. And thinking about mortality, it motivates us to treat our time as a gift and to not waste it on the trivial and the vain. Here's what I would say to you. Although we're talking about the power of now, I caution you, don't make time the center of your focus. Keep your focus on your direction, on your purpose, on your values, and on your assignment. Because time is a highway through which you travel to your destiny. It's a highway. And if I'm on my way somewhere, I'm not thinking about 285 and 75 and 85 and 20. I'm not thinking about the highways. I'm thinking about the destination. When you see somebody say, I'm on my way, I'm going to Disney World, you don't hear people talking about, I can't wait to get out until I get on 75 South. Time is an expressway. It's not nearly as exciting as the destiny. It's what you do with the time. It's what the time is going to allow you the ability to be able to experience. But don't make time the big deal. In fact, the more cognizant that you are of time itself, the slower it goes. Have you ever been sick in the night and you're just waiting for the sun to come up? You ever been scared at night and waiting for the sun to come up? You're not feeling well, and you're sitting there watching the clock. When you watch the clock, you know what it is to work, particularly for folks that work in retail. I know what that feels like. And when it comes time for closing, you start getting ready like 30 minutes ahead of time. You know, if you work in a store, you don't want anybody to come in the last 10 or 15 minutes because you know you done already counted your register down, and you don't even come in here and mess this up. And I'm ready to go. But Lord, please don't let anybody else come through that door right now because I'm about to get off. Have you ever been there? But the more you think about time, have you ever been in a meeting and you realize that it's rude to start looking at your watch? And the more that you look at it, it's like if you're sitting through something that is dull and boring. See, the way that life, when you know that you're living life zestfully, it's when it looks like it passes by so quickly. I mean, I can't imagine, when you're standing in line right over at Six Flags to ride an exhilarating ride, and you stand in line for 45 minutes, an hour and a half, and get on a ride, and 90 seconds later, 90 seconds, and the ride is over, and you're having a time of your life, but you waited so long for something that went so quickly. Time flies when you're having fun. But if it's in a boring meeting, it's like, oh God, oh God, oh God. I teach communicators, listen, if you've got 10 points to give, don't tell people you got 10 points. Because after you give the third one, and you've been talking for 30 minutes, they start doing the math. And they're going to check out on you. They're going to check out. They're counting down. And it makes time just stand still. But I want you to realize this. God is not subject to time because he is eternal. God lives outside of time. He can interact in time, but he lives outside of time. That's why he's the God who was, who is, and is to come, because he is not subject to time. He is eternal. He existed before time did. But people who get a lot done tend to do things right away. People who get a lot done tend to do things right away. They don't procrastinate. And realizing that we have limited time on this earth should cause you to rearrange your priorities. There's a lot that happens over the time that you're here in the earth, but you don't suppress your feelings, because if you've been hurt by things in the past, you heal by feeling. You heal by facing, and you heal by releasing. You heal by feeling. You cannot heal what you cannot feel. You heal by feeling. You heal by facing. You heal by releasing. Releasing it through a word. Releasing it sometimes through tears. There's something cathartic about being able to cry over what has happened to you that can bring healing to your life. And if you never have this ability to express what is depressing you, you'll never heal. You heal by feeling, by facing, and by releasing. Let me remind you of this, that time transforms what is potential into reality. Time. It transforms what is potential into reality. To take something from seed to harvest requires time. So whatever you're dealing with in your life, stop. Stop. Number 2, reflect. Number 3, pray. Number 4, think. Number 5, decide. Number 6, act. Wherever you are in life, just stop, reflect, pray, think, decide, act. I brought here with me today you recognize this. I don't know why, but it's rude to look at your watch when you're in conversation with other people. But it's not rude if you look at an hourglass. I don't know why. Maybe you need to, you're in a meeting and you want to be there for an hour. You glance at an hourglass. Because this speaks of your potential. The top of the hourglass speaks of your creative potential. The bottom of the glass speaks of your desired results, your target market. And you see this in the middle, what I would call the bottleneck? That speaks of the limiting factors that come into your life. What's limiting you in your now? What's bottlenecking in your life right now that's keeping the sand are the efforts that you do in time? And there's a small constriction between the past and the future that is this bottleneck that keeps things from really happening uniquely and powerfully for your life. But time is constantly draining. If you could see the fineness of the sand, constantly transferring from the top to the bottom. That this represents your past that comes down through the constrictor, the bottleneck, the limiting things. And this speaks even of a business. Until you start thinking about what's bottlenecking, what's constricting you from having a bigger future. What's your limiting constrictor here? What's happening? But this is the power of now. It is the only little viaduct that separates the past from the future. It is the constriction of time itself. It is the power of now. It is what you do in this bottleneck while you're uncomfortable. The greatest threat to your victory or to your success is not hardship, but comfort. There's something about the constriction that allows you to think more individually because you can't process a whole lot. It's a bottleneck so that you deal with a little bit at the time that you can handle in this time that we call now. I know you're dealing with a lot. You're dealing with your own issues, with your health issues, with your relationship issues, with your financial issues. You're dealing with your spiritual issues. And then you got to deal with the folks that you live with, and the folks on your job, and the folks in your neighborhood, and the relatives that you're connected to. You are dealing with a whole lot of issues. But you can't deal with everybody's stuff all at once, theirs and yours and past stuff and present stuff. It's too much. We must have a constrictor. It's called the power of now. And this is the only thing over which we have some control, to be able to exert our will and say, I'm going to do something differently this time. Because while you're talking, while you're wasting time looking at television and specials on Netflix and surfing the net, time is still dripping away. It's still draining away. No wonder the psalmist is saying in Psalm 90, teach us, Lord, to number our days so that we might apply our hearts to wisdom. Teach us, God, about the brevity of life, how quickly this thing passes. Because there'll be time, you don't have your children a long time. They'll be a part of your house before you know it. Things will change. Your world as you know it and people that you've known will start moving off the scene, and the young become the old. Mysteries do unfold. I mean, there's so much that happens over the course of life where life is transitioning. But this is all that you have, is this power of what happens in this thing called the constrictor. It's the power of now. This is the portal through which the past becomes your future. And it is how you process things in the middle. That's why the writer of the Old Testament Talked about God being right there in the middle of life. When things get hard, people have a midlife crisis. Stress is always in the middle. When you've gotten far enough away from the shore and you see the other side, if you're ever going to have a tendency to panic, it's because you're too far from both shores. And you're in this thing that is a constrictor. It's called time. We're under time compression and time restraints, time constrictions, but it's still passing. And it doesn't pass by shovelfuls at a time. It's just a few grains. They're so light that from a distance you can't even see it falling, but it's falling. In the same way that you can't feel yourself aging second by second, but you are. And may I remind you of this? Through the passage of time, isn't it crazy that everything that's on top is headed south? I know you can get operations and lifts and tucks, but it's still going south. It's on its way down. It's on its way down. And when you're walking and you realize that everything is headed to the bottom, what do? When the sands of time are drifting and you come to rock bottom, what do you do? Because if I had the time, all of this sand that's in the top will wind up in the bottom, and the top will be totally empty. I remind you of this, it's totally empty until you meet somebody who has the ability to turn your world upside down. And you need to be born again. And whereas you might have thought that your time was about to run out, now you've got some more time. Because when you meet Jesus, He takes your life that has been living upside down and He turns it topsy-turvy, it's right side up, and now all of a sudden He's added unto you the same thing that He did for the king when He added 15 years. When you meet Him, you'll turn your life upside down and give you more time. And the Lord said that He will restore to you the years that the cankerworm and the palmer worm, the caterpillar, the locust ate up. I don't know who I'm talking to, but I just want you to know that when you make a resolve that, God, I'm going to do your will, I'm going to do your will, if you'll give me enough strength, if you'll begin to pray, God, don't let me die until I'm able to show your power and your wonders to another generation. Jesus, oh God, don't let me die. God, let me make an impact in the lives of others. That what you've done for me, the stupidity of my youth, God, let me take what was my foolishness that has now become my wisdom. Lord, don't let me die now. God, help me to be able, give me a little more time, Jesus. We need Him to just turn our world upside down. And I came to just introduce you to the one who has the capacity to turn your world upside down. And when He does, He restores to you the years. And you'll discover that you'll be able to get more done in less time. Because when older people do things, they can do it. The magnitude of it comes in less time than it would take a younger person to do it, because you got to build too many resources. They've already got the resources, and now He teaches them through wisdom how to leverage all of the relationships, all of the resources. And that's why you may not have much time, but you don't need much time, because God knows how to multiply your efforts in what you thought was something that you were about to run out on. But Jesus is waiting that when you feel like you're running out of time, you just need to meet somebody who can turn your world upside down. I hope you got something out of the word of the Lord today. I really do. We hope that you enjoyed that message. Don't forget to like and subscribe and then press the notification bell so that you don't miss another one of our videos. And if you want to partner with us, click the Give Now button. Thank you for what you do.